Hello and thank you for joining us. This is The World Now. We begin here in Nigeria and with the political situation in Rivers State on the day of the local government election. Suspected political thugs launched early morning attack and vandalized APC Secretariat in Port Harcourt. The party leadership says the attack is connected to the APC's persistent call for the suspension of the local government election. And so far, security agencies are not enforcing the restriction of movement announced by Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Recall that the police said it will not be participating or providing security for the election based on a federal high court judgment. Meanwhile, voting is ongoing in the state as the chairmanship candidate of the Action People's Party, Chijioke Nwo, cast his vote on Ward 1 in Ward 1, Unit 40, Obiakwa local government area.
The process was very peaceful. Like you see, everywhere is calm. Contrary to speculations and counter orders from people who are very undemocratic in nature and autocratic in nature. It's amazing the way Rivers people turned out for this election. It simply means that this election is important to them, and it's a very big sign that people are very determined to write the narrative of where one or two people will feel that they own Rivers State.
Well, let's turn attention now to Tunisia, Northern Africa, where crowds of Tunisians took to the streets once again to voice their discontent with President Kais Saied ahead of the country's October the 6th presidential election. They accuse President Saied of limiting the number of opponents who can run against him. Among the crowd were many young people, some of whom are refusing to vote on Sunday. Tunisia's Electoral Commission appointed President Saied has only approved 2 other candidates to run against him. In August, Human Rights Watch said authorities had ruled out several other potential candidates from running in the election through persecution and imprisonment. Since he came to power in 2019, President Saied has suspended parliament and pushed through a new constitution to reinforce his own power. His administration has clamped down on perceived opponents, arrested lawyers, journalists, and activists. And now to the eastern part of the continent, where supporters and opponents of Kenya's deputy president clashed on Friday at public forums over an impeachment motion against him, which was introduced in parliament by the ruling alliance this week. Rigathi Gachagua is accused of supporting anti-government protests in June and of being involved in corruption and other irregularities. A motion for the impeachment of Mr. Gachagua was proposed in Parliament on Tuesday, and Kenyans were given until Friday to fill out public participation forms at their constituencies. Public forums are being held across the country to discuss the impeachment. In the capital, Nairobi, a public forum at the Bomas of Kenya turned violent as supporters of President William Ruto clashed with those supporting Gachagua. In Darua County, opponents were called out as being traitors and were chased out of the community hall. The Senate is expected to hear the impeachment motion on Tuesday next week. We're staying in Africa now to the ongoing conflict in Sudan. At least 45 civilians have been killed in the city of Al-Koma in North Darfur State, Western Sudan, due to airstrikes carried out by a Sudanese army warplane. According to eyewitnesses, the strikes took place in the city market and the neighborhoods adjacent to the market. North Darfur is witnessing fierce battles these days between the army, supported by armed movements, and the rapid support forces on a number of fronts inside and outside Al-Fasher towards areas in the northern desert. Now, up to 600 people were shot dead in a matter of hours by Al-Qaeda-linked militants in an August attack on a town in Burkina Faso, according to a French government security assessment that nearly doubles the death toll cited in earlier reports. The new figure would make the assault in which civilians were shot dead as they dug trenches to defend the remote town of Basalogo, one of the deadliest single attacks in Africa in recent decades. Militants from Jamaat Nusra al-Islam wal Muslimi, an Al-Qaeda-affiliated base in Mali and active in Burkina Faso, opened fire as they swept into the outskirts of Basalogo on motorcycles and shot down villagers who laid helpless in freshly upturned dirt of the trench, according to several videos of the August 24 attack posted by pro-GNMI accounts on social media. And now, French President Emmanuel Macron on Friday championed what he described as the shared values of the French-speaking world in dealing with conflicts across the globe. President Macron touched upon the wars in Ukraine and Gaza as he addressed delegations from dozens of states and governments. He called for Ukraine's sovereignty to be protected and for a two-state solution to the Israel-Gaza war. He also stressed the importance of protecting civilians in the French-speaking world and beyond. Earlier on Friday, President Macron kicked off the 19th Francophone Summit at the Chateau des Villas, around 80 kilometers northeast of Paris. The two-day summit will see dozens of heads of state and members of the International Francophone Organization meet to talk about the future of the French language as well as international crisis. And Rwanda is witnessing an outbreak of the deadly Marburg virus and has recently reported 11 fatalities. Marburg virus is a fatal hemorrhagic fever that has hit the country, with almost 36 people testing positive. The virus was first detected in late September, as per reports from the Health Ministry. This virus is not new, however. This is the first time in Rwanda, in East Central Africa, has reported cases and fatalities. Officials also reported concerns regarding the virus spreading to Germany, but a medical student reportedly fell ill after coming in contact with an infected patient in Rwanda. Both have confirmed testing negative, according to sources. And now to our coverage of the rising tensions in the Middle East. Israel says it is continuing its ground operation in southern Lebanon with raids on terrorist infrastructure taking place above and below ground. There is more in this report.
The IDF says it has destroyed Hezbollah weapons caches which were embedded in mountainous, thicketed and densely built-up areas, as well as being rigged with explosives. It also says it has dismantled tunnel shaft used by Hezbollah terrorists in underground combat near the border. Meanwhile, more than 200,000 people have fled Lebanon into neighboring Syria. An update from UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, says this number includes both Lebanese citizens and Syrians who are living in Lebanon. Figures from the Lebanese government put the total higher at 300,000. Yesterday, an Israeli airstrike hit near the main border crossing point between the two countries, effectively cutting off vehicle access. Israel's military claimed it hit Hezbollah targets near the Masna crossing, and earlier claimed the group was using it to smuggle weapons into Lebanon. People continued to make the journey across the border on foot, with pictures showing families clambering over rubble to leave the country. At least 4 hospitals closed yesterday in southern Lebanon because of Israeli airstrikes, officials at the hospitals say, severely limiting health cover for the remaining population there. At the Majayun Government Hospital, a core team of 20 doctors and nurses had held on for days after the rest of its 120 staff stopped coming to work because of the strikes, officials said. But the hospital eventually closed on Friday following a direct hit. At least 37 healthcare facilities have closed over the past 2 weeks since Israel began its air bombardment of Lebanon, according to the World Health Organization. In a statement on Friday night, the Israeli army accused Hezbollah of using medical vehicles to transport fighters and weapons. In a separate statement, it said it had made many efforts to prevent damage to non-involved people in civilian infrastructure, and this is in contrast to the systemic use of the terrorist organization Hezbollah.
I will take a break now. When the World Now returns, we'll bring you more analysis of the situation in the Middle East and other stories. Stay with us.
Information is power.